calendars and event registration can be a real pain, especially if you need to do this manually instead of dynamically. If you think about it, it's not just creating the event and putting the information in there. You also need to handle things like, how are people going to consume it? Do you need to have a calendar with daily views, weekly views, monthly views, annual views? Like, how are people actually going to find the information that you're looking for? You could also have something like an upcoming or what's next list, but that includes its own problems because events are time-based, and if you have something that's what's coming next, but it happened a week ago, well, that ends up looking pretty silly on your site. So there's a lot of things that you need to end up sort of running around and making sure you stay on top of. Luckily, we can use Drupal to make a dynamic version of this so that it will take care of a lot of that stuff for us. In particular, the views module is going to give us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we display the information for people to consume it without us having to oversee every little bit of it. We're also going to be able to dynamically create lists of people who are attending those events without, again, having to manually go in and keep track of that when someone's going, when they cancel, and all of that kind of back and forth. In this lesson, we're going to get an overview of our case study. What project are we going to be building for our event registration site? And then we're going to walk through the major pieces for how we're going to implement this and what are the modules that we're really going to be depending on to make this project come together for us. So let's get introduced to the project that we're going to be tackling.
The Aurora Book Club is a social group of local book enthusiasts, and they hold semi-regular monthly meetings and events for their members, whether they're new people who want to get involved or the existing members. So they need to have a site where they can find out what's going on in terms of the meetings that they're going to be having. So first things that they're going to want is an event calendar so that they can actually see which events are coming up when. Now, in addition to having a calendar of events, they also want all of the members to be able to add events themselves as they come up rather than just having a bottleneck of one person. So we want to be able to have an event content type that everyone's going to be able to use. Now, the events should have both start and end times with the date so that you know what day it's on, but also, is it a 1 hour meeting or is it a 3 hour meeting or anything like that? And also a way to just indicate where it's going to be because they move them around to different places in town. In addition to the main calendar view, they also want to have just like a quick upcoming events. So in the sidebar block here, we have a list of which events are coming up in the order. So the next event that's happening is at the top of the list. And the main calendar is defaulting to a monthly view, but they also want to be able to sort of drill down into a week or look at the year in total. And to be extra handy and useful to people, and not everybody wants to necessarily go to the site to always check in on these things, they also want to have an iCal feed so that you could click on this and get an ICS file, and then you can import that into any other kind of calendar software that you have and have this calendar locally instead of always having to go to the site. Finally, since the club members also need to know how many cookies to bring or how many chairs to have on hand at a meeting, the club president has asked that we also include a way to track who is planning to attend each event so that they have a list. And so for this, you'll see we have a list of attendees on an event and a mechanism for people to say they're going to attend or cancel their attendance. Now, in order to build the Aurora Book Club site, we're going to be tackling two main features that we need. We need event management, so we get calendars, and we need attendance tracking. So for event management, way back in the old days in Drupal, there was a module called Event, which was just an out-of-the-box event module. Nowadays, this is done through a combination of a couple of modules. We have the date module, which is going to actually deal with creating dates and tracking that stuff in the database and having it displayed in some way that's kind of meaningful in terms of a field on our content type. And then we also have the calendar module, which works with the date module to create a calendar. Now, calendar is built on views, so you're bringing date and views modules together to create sort of that classic calendar view that you would expect to see. Now for attendance tracking, there used to be the sign up module. There's still the sign up module, and it's designed specifically for the purpose of tracking event attendance. And it has some nice things like email reminders and stuff like that, but it's not been upgraded to Drupal 7. So it's in a development version, but it hasn't really gotten any traction behind it for Drupal 7. But luckily for us, there's another module out there that's going to satisfy our needs just as well, called Flag. And Flag is actually a much more general purpose module that you can use in a lot of different ways. We're going to use it for attendance tracking, but you can use Flag module to kind of flag all kinds of different things. So like out of the box, it comes with bookmarks, but you could also do things like mark content as offensive, let people bookmark things. And we're going to use it for letting people say whether they are attending or not attending an event so that we can then create a listing of all of those people. So these are the main new modules we'll be looking at is Flag, Calendar, and Date. And that is going to help us build the Aurora Book Club website.